Breaker Crunchers! It's Saturday night in Phoenix, Arizona. Welcome to another exciting episode of Couch Crunchers, where we are going to attempt to solve the mystery that is Enola Holmes, the new movie on Netflix, starring Millie Bobby Brown. Did I get that right?
Yep.
Millie Bobby Brown? Millie Brown Bobby.
Yes, you did.
Brown Bobby Millie?
Millie Bobby Brown.
Millie Bobby Brown. Henry Cavill and Sam something as Mycroft.
The guy from Hunger Games. That's what I
Caldwell? Is that right? Caldwell? Sam Caldwell? I don't remember.
I don't know.
But before we get into that, I want to know real quickly if Max, we'll start with you since for some reason I always save you for the end, apparently is what you told me. Is there a show that you're watching that you want to get the Cruncher bandwagon on?
Honestly, no. I haven't really watched anything all week. All I've been doing is I just finished Spider-Man PS4 replay, and I was telling you guys just before the show started, my PC started breaking down, and I wasn't able to get an Xbox Series X pre-order this week, and I was finally just like, you know what? My PC parts are going out. I'm just going to switch over to a gaming PC. So talked to my wife about it, bought all the parts. They're not all here yet, but I'm going to be putting together basically a brand new gaming PC. Not entirely brand new. I'm taking some parts from my old computer that still work, but it's going to be a beast, man. I'm actually really excited about it.
That's awesome, dude.
So that's what I've been up to.
I would love a really nice PC. Like not so much a gaming PC, but just something that would help me hack my retro gaming systems easier.
Oh,
it's really hard on Mac, guys. But so Sam had joined us a few minutes late, but still better than not being here at all. How are you, Sam?
I'm doing great. Sorry, I was on my way back from the lake. The kids fell off one too many times, so I got back late.
So Sam is always saying, I think that's twice now that he's gone to the lake before the show, and I'm still waiting for my invite.
Oh, it's not my boat, man. There's a guy who lives a couple blocks away, and he's always like calling us the day of, not even the day of, like 10 minutes before he's getting ready to go. He's like, dude, let's go to the lake. And I'm like, dude, I can't just go to the lake. If you give me at least 24 hours notice, the answer will be yes. But you can't just spring it on me. I need time.
That's how my family is with hiking.
Well, who is this neighbor? And I'll make friends with him.
Yeah, you need to make friends with him. His name's Isaac. He's great. He's got a pontoon boat. It's just a party boat.
See, that sounds awesome, but like seriously, my family and Tyler might be able to attest to this because he's my cousin. But they'll just like plan a hiking trip at 7 a.m. and text everybody at 7:05 saying, "Hey, we're going hiking in 30 minutes. Who wants to come?"
Yeah,
and like
I can't
expect you to come. Man. I'm like, no, dude. First of all,
my spontaneity. Yeah, go ahead, Max. Sorry.
And then second of all, I plan my life. I've got things going on. The last minute stuff can drive me crazy sometimes.
Yeah. So the fact that he gave me at least a day's notice, I had to say yes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I did let him know I didn't want to cancel on you guys like I did the last time. So I thought I would be back on time the last time I went to the lake. And this time I made sure.
You still came on that show.
No, that was the one where you interviewed Jim O'Halloran. And I missed it.
Oh, that was a fun time, dude.
Yeah, you guys learned so much about points.
Yeah, right. About acting points.
About getting paid with points and how much of a crock it is because of creative accounting.
So it's no secret to fans of the show or listeners to the show, Sam is our smartest cruncher. And if he was on that Jack O'Halloran episode, maybe we wouldn't have looked so dumb.
Oh man. Am I the smartest because I'm the only one who came up with the dodgeball league?
You're the smartest because you're the one that is a lawyer.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, this lawyer has started a dodgeball league. Tyler said he's coming this Wednesday.
Well, no, I can't.
Invitation to every one of the Crunchers. Corbin from Absolute Geek is coming this Wednesday.
This Wednesday, Tyler and I are busy. We are going to be watching Empire Strikes Back in theaters at AMC, and we're very excited about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
We'll probably be done by the time that movie's over.
Well, do you want to come, Lance? We can add a third ticket. Talk to your wife.
I can't, guys. So this was my second week in school, and my weekdays are now tied up. So I can't do anything. I've just 2 weeks into this semester, and I'm getting my butt kicked already. It's nuts. But Max said,
"What's kicking your butt? What's kicking your butt, Lance?"
Just the amount of I've already. So in 1 week, I had to write 6 papers.
Oh my gosh, that's a lot of papers, bro.
Yeah, that is a lot.
I know, about stupid stuff too, and they're not fun. And yeah, it's
You got to figure out ways
and
to
then
BS through it.
what's that? Oh yeah, I'm a real good BSer. In case you haven't noticed by this show,
Dude, I
I'm a
BS my way
fantastic
through the
BSer.
entire degree I got. I told you guys all about that. That degree program I was in was a joke. And then Tyler was like, dude, that sounds awesome. And then they changed it and made it more difficult.
Yeah.
Right before Tyler signed up for it.
So
That's
I don't
rough.
know if you guys know this. So the standard amount of credits that you need for a bachelor's degree, I think, is 162 or something like that.
120.
It's 120, yeah.
120. Okay, I had that backwards. It's 120, but I'm taking 150 credits because I've got a few certificates that I'm getting as in addition to my bachelor's with some extra classes. So that's why it seems like I've been in school for an eternity.
Dude.
So
Yeah, I feel like you've been in school for a long time.
but it's hard, dude. I mean, I'm a full-time worker, I guess, a full-time dad, full-time student.
It's you started school when Max still had hair.
That's
how long
13,
you've been in school, man.
Well, okay, that's a funny joke. I should have laughed more. However, because I don't care. I've been losing my hair a long time. I freaking started losing my hair.
Max
when I
started
was
looking like
13.
my dad when he was 13 years old.
I'm not seriously though. When I was 13, I started losing my hair. I had a receding hairline in 8th grade. And then in 9th grade, I had the seniors asking me to go buy them beer because they were like, yeah, you look old enough. I'm like, I'm not doing that.
No,
But I've always
here's
looked
the truth. Here's the truth. I saw Max post a bunch of pictures from when he and Lance had a band together. And you know who Max really looked like? He looked like Duke Silver. Ron Swanson from
That's
Parks
quite
and
the
Rec.
compliment.
Did I really in those pictures?
Yeah, dude, you look like freaking Duke Silver.
So Max and I, in case our listeners don't know, we were in a band called Featuring Benson. And the reason it was called Featuring Benson is because our best friend Tyler Benson.
We told this story, I think, numerous times on the show.
Well, you know, we don't believe
We may have a
inside
new
jokes.
listener. Go ahead. Right,
So Tyler Benson really wanted to be in the band, but all he could play was covers of slow Blink-182 songs, and so we didn't have him in the band. So instead, every song is just featuring Benson. So that's what our name was. So stupid. But and then I only played one show because I took over for Max's brother, and I didn't know any of the songs, and it was an absolute train wreck. If you listen to our video, I am so off time.
Oh, is there a video
off
there?
Key. There's a video that I saw, but I think I've tried really hard to hide it in the nether regions of the internet, so no one can view it. But
okay, I don't see the resemblance to freaking Ron Swanson. I wish I did. Looks
Yeah.
not Ron.
Both up there.
Are you saying
Ron
Ron
both
Swanson?
up there,
or the-
side by side. Come on, Max, let's see it.
Well, I
Let's
can
see
throw
both
up.
pictures side by side.
Well, I'd have to do like editing for that. But I'll share. Oh, whoops. I'll share the screen here real quick. Let's see if.
What's up, man?
What I find really
Lance,
funny
make
while
sure
you're
you
pulling
say
that up,
yes to
Matt.
this.
What I find really funny when I did the cartoon characters of us for Couch Crunchers,
Come on, let's zoom
Max's
in there.
picture is considerably less gray.
Zoom in there, Duke. I got to see the Duke.
Oh, can I zoom in? Let's see. Does that work? Did it work?
It worked a little bit.
So my buddy in the background there, that picture does not do him justice without context.
And Lance had hair too. Look at that.
I did have hair. So I did not start losing my hair as early as Max did, but I lost more of it quicker than Max did.
You too.
So Max has been losing hair since he was 13 years old. I started when I was 25, and as you can see, I caught up.
It was a race, and for Max, it was more of a distance. For Lance, it was more of a sprint.
Yes.
I pulled my headphones back. I've got some hair on
I
top,
see a little bit of Ron Swanson.
Dude, Duke Silver. Duke, especially that one where he doesn't have a beard. Do you see the one with his wife with no beard? That's the one, dude. That's the one that. That looks just like you, dude. Oh my gosh, that is crazy.
Hey, I'm okay with it.
Hey, Matt from Absolute Geek says howdy.
Max, just grow a mustache and that's it.
No,
everybody say hi to Matt from Absolute Geek.
I already did.
Matthew, hello.
Hey, Matt.
Matt says he wants to play dodgeball too.
Well, there you
Matt's
go.
gonna play dodgeball.
That'd be a long drive, but
he wants a podcast versus podcast tournament.
Ooh,
yeah.
If it's still going the week after this coming week, I'm going to come.
I still haven't met Matt, man. If he went to some dodgeball, I'd show up. Finally meet this guy in person.
So I've seen Kyle run. I think we could beat him.
The way we do it is on a racquetball court. So it's like those games are quick. They are super quick. You gotta. It's fast.
Corbin's very, very athletic, though. I think they could beat us with Corbin. So
but can he throw a ball? Can he dodge? Can he duck? Can he dip? Can he dive? Can he dodge?
Well,
can he dodge a wrench? That's what really matters. Can he dodge?
Can dodge a wrench? Can he dodge a ball?
That's what I was gonna say.
Oh, sorry.
My father-in-law found out I was doing a dodgeball club, and so he went out and he bought a bunch of old tools, and he started throwing them at me every time I get home from work.
So
got me in the nuts last time.
That's awesome.
Hulu has like a dodgeball tournament that they just came out with on is it Hulu or Netflix? One of the two. Well, I thought this was a sequel TV show to the dodgeball movie with Vince Vaughn and Ben Stiller and all them. It's not. And it's like
a wipeout kind of contest.
Yeah. Which I watched 5 minutes, realized it had nothing to do with the movie, and shut it off. I'm not much into those reality competitions, guys.
Okay, well, what are you into? What are you watching?
I'm into
Apple TV.
No, actually, so there was a new show on Hulu that I just started watching. It's a little political. It reminds me a lot of Workaholics, but it's called Woke, with Lamar Morris, I think his name is. And
yeah, he was on New Girl.
Yes. And it's very, very funny. If you get, even if it doesn't align with your political beliefs, there is a lot of value in that show. I was laughing hysterically. It's an easy watch. It's 8 episodes, 30-minute episodes, but it was very funny. He's a comic book artist, creates his comic book, and just starts seeing inanimate objects start talking to him. So it was a very good show. But Max brought up that he just finished the Spider-Man game on PS4 again, and I just read an interesting piece of information. So all the PS4 games are supposed to be backwards compatible to new PS5, but your save information will not be transferring over. Did you know that, Max?
Yeah. So let's put this into more context, because that's not 100% true. So if it's a PS4 game, your save will transfer. Any PS4 game pretty much is going to be backwards compatible on PS5, and your save will transfer. What's not transferring is that if you buy the special edition of the Miles Morales game, you'll get a remastered version of the original Spider-Man game for PS5. Your PS4 save will not transfer to that version of the game. And people are making a really big deal out of this, and they think it sucks, which it's not ideal, but The Last of Us did the exact same thing. It was a PS3 game, and then when the PS4 came out, they released a remaster. If you played the PS3 game, you had to start all over again.
But
they're different games.
Technically, a remaster is a new game.
Exactly.
You can't transfer it to a new game.
I mean, you probably could, but it's not easy. And so that's why I'm surprised so many people are getting all up in arms about it. Like, you're right. It's a new game, so just move on.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense.
Really,
the article I read did not paint it like that.
Yeah, they're not painting it right. So if you play God of War and you're halfway through the story and you pick up a PS5 and you have PS Plus, so let me say that, because if you don't have PS Plus, you don't have cloud saves. So you need to make sure you back up your save somehow. But let's assume you have PS Plus, you have a PS4, you're halfway through God of War, you get a PS5, you want to keep playing, you can pick right back up where you were. It's just that it's a new game. So the remag guy is on the case. He's helping you understand what's really going on.
So, Tyler, you watching anything good?
I don't have anything new really. I'm trying to pull up a picture right now. I was going to share it, but I was just jumping back to Sam's dodgeball league. I totally want to get a Steve the Pirate outfit. That'd be awesome.
Funny.
But maybe I'll just buy a red polo and that'll be my Steve the Pirate outfit. I know I don't really have anything new. I'm still, going through watching Psych, and like Max said, we're gonna go see Empire Strikes Back in theaters. It's for the 40th, right, Max? 40th anniversary, I think.
Yeah, that's right. 40th anniversary.
And then I did have a couple of questions for you guys. I asked Max this already, but we didn't figure it out.
Are these going to be Tenet questions?
Yes.
Should we dive into those? Since we're not doing a Tenet spoiler cast anymore? I don't know. I just don't want to spoil it for people that are coming in and didn't want Tenet spoiled. I don't know. Maybe we can keep it vague enough.
Ask your questions, and if it's too spoilery, then we'll submit our questions or our answers in writing.
Okay.
Yes, Professor.
So, in Tenet, there is the equation, right? We've got the equation. And
the algorithm.
The algorithm, yes. Thank you for correcting me.
We're already off to a rocky start, Tyler.
So there's the algorithm. And the algorithm is being they're going to make this trade with the algorithm, right? Like Tenet, like the main character, the protagonist, he's supposed to go and get this algorithm, and the other guy's going to pay him for it, supposedly, right?
A piece of it.
Right.
Yeah.
You're talking at the very beginning.
So this is the freeway scene, right? So like the whole setup is it's supposed to be he's a plutonium dealer, and he's gonna sell him some plutonium. So my question is, why does the protagonist need to set up this meeting at all? Why doesn't he just go and get the algorithm, and then
he doesn't know what the algorithm is.
He doesn't know what it is, but why is he wanting to trade it to this guy?
No, he thought it was plutonium.
He's not. He doesn't want to trade the algorithm to the guy.
Yeah. Remember when he's in the car and he opens up the box?
Why does he set it up that way? It doesn't seem like the antagonist gives him any information about where it's going to be or anything. So he goes and finds it himself. Why did he set up this sale with the antagonist?
Because it was supposed to be plutonium.
He was using the guy to get close to the algorithm. So the protagonist is using Satyr to get close to the algorithm.
But he doesn't realize the algorithm's a machine at this point, right?
Satyr knows all the stuff at that point. But what he's trying to do, man, it's been so long since I saw the movie already.
So if you remember, he goes into that truck and steals the case, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's supposed to be plutonium. Gets into the car with Robert Pattinson's character, opens up the case, and says,
"This isn't plutonium.
This isn't plutonium. What is this?" Right? And that's when he starts to realize that Robert Pattinson's character knows more than what he's letting on and stuff.
Yes, I get that.
So, and the whole reason that he was getting this plutonium was get into not the inner circle, but like to get closer to this guy so that he could figure out how they're doing this Tenet stuff. But then he realizes that the algorithm's a machine.
Okay,
right?
so he's making this sale of what he thinks is plutonium so that he can learn more about this guy's organization.
Get further in the circle of trust.
Okay. So that's kind of what I wasn't getting. I was like, why is he doing this whole thing? Like, why does he, like, if he thought it was plutonium, why did he even want to sell it to him? You know, like, so that's kind of what I was confused about.
I think there is a comment earlier in the movie where he says, you know, we're selling this stuff to a war criminal or something like that. Isn't there, Sam? Like he has some hang up about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure there is. There's just so much to pay attention to in that movie that it's like hard to
How many times have you seen it?
I've seen it twice now, but the first time that I saw it, I didn't see that whole opera scene at the beginning. And so now that I went back and saw it again, my other question is, I didn't catch where it said why the algorithm was at the opera to begin with, in the beginning of the movie. Like, why was it there?
There was the algorithm. I didn't think there was an algorithm there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what they found at the opera in the very beginning.
Yeah.
So, what, that dude had the piece, the one dude they were saving?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so I was like, because she hid the pieces of the algorithm in like nuclear, bomb facilities and stuff. So I'm like, how did it end up at this opera house? I guess the spy went and found it somewhere or something.
I don't know.
They were trying to save at the beginning.
I think this requires another watch.
I know.
Absolutely does.
In this movie.
Yeah. It's a crazy freaking movie, man. There's so much.
But they're not getting another $15 from me. I'm sorry. So they're gonna have to wait for this thing out on Blu-ray.
Well, I have the stubs list again, the AMC, so I could go see it as much as I want.
Max and I redid ours. Sam, we were gonna tell you should do the stubs.
Stubs?
Yeah, it's $20 a month, 3 movies a week.
Nice.
At any AMC theater.
Yeah, you can see IMAX, you can see Dolby Digital.
At no extra cost.
3D.
I really like it. The only thing I don't like is that I freaking love Harkins popcorn. And that's like the only thing. AMC's popcorn sucks in comparison, but it's fine. I get movies for free.
Good popcorn, but you're right. It's not Harkins popcorn. But I don't care.
Kelsey and I
more
picked up
about my tush than I care about my belly.
I care about both, but I care more about my tush. Which, by the way, does the AMC at Signal Butte have the recliners in their seats?
Yeah.
Awesome, because that's where Tyler and I are. Yeah, we're just Tyler and I are seeing Empire Strikes Back, but we're just doing normal seats. So cool, the recliners. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's red recliners. The IMAX seats are the ones that suck.
Yeah.
So, Sam, anything you're watching?
Dude, so much. Watching so much. But the one that's kind of standing out for me, I don't know if you guys are familiar with a comedian named Jack Whitehall.
Yes.
No.
He is in the upcoming Jungle Cruise with one Dwayne Johnson and one Emily Blunt. He's British, kind of a little dude. But he has this really, really great Netflix series called Travels with My Father. His dad is he was 50 something when Jack was born, and so now that Jack is in his 30s, his dad is like in his 80s. Yeah, that's Jack Whitehall. And they go on these trips around the world, and they're absolutely hilarious. And the most recent one they did in Australia, and it was just very funny. But they also did one in the Southwest United States, and they came to Mesa, Arizona. And while they were here, they went and participated in Party Hard Wrestling at the Nile Theater, and it clued me into that event. And I was able to go to the Nile Theater and do it as well, or not participate, not wrestle, but we watched the show, and it was really, really good. So if you're looking for something to crack you up, it's like equal parts buddy comedy and travel show. It is fantastic. It is very funny.
That seems,
I love it.
That makes me think that you like Down to Earth with Zac Efron.
Zach, I have seen that show. It's a little bit preachy for my taste, but it is very interesting.
Yeah, Zach's just a likable guy.
He's very affable. Travels with My Father, though, is just straight comedy. It's very funny. Not very preachy at all. It's just hilarious.
Gotcha. Well, yeah, I was going to say something to you. So the Nile Theater, I don't know if you guys remember this. So the Nile Theater used to be a very sleazy club back in the day. I don't know if you guys remember. Like, my mom would never let me go there because there was like drugs and everything.
Sure.
The owner of the Nile Theater, who still owned the building, decided to shut down the Nile Theater, and he rented out his space to a church. And this church renovated the entire space, right? Spent all this money, renovated the entire space, made it look beautiful. Then the church's lease was up. They wanted to renew the lease. The Nile Theater guy said nope, and then put the club back in with all this new renovations. Yeah. So now the Nile Theater looks beautiful.
It's great. And they have wrestling there occasionally, and it's awesome. Yeah. It's very fun.
So I saw the Aquabats and Silverstein there, and the Aquabats was one of the best shows I've ever been to. Full of children, because as you know, the lead singer of Aquabats created Yo Gabba Gabba and some other stuff. He's a pretty big guy. Christian Jacobs, I think his name is. He's a pretty big guy in Hollywood. And so there's a lot of children there. So what they did is they took these big inflatable pool floats, right, like the rafts and stuff, and they would put children on these pool floats and have them crowd surf races from front to back with children on these pool floats. And it was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced, man. These kids were having a blast, and with their parents listening to some punk rock music and stuff, and it was just a blast.
Yeah, the Aquabats are the most interactive with the audience that I've ever seen.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen bands that are just as interactive. Like Green Day comes to mind. Green Day is very interactive with the bands or with the fans. But as far as that, the creative aspect, like in such a small venue too, that was nothing like I'd ever seen. It was really cool.
Aquabats for life, man. Aquabats for life.
They had
like, how long am I going to have to stall until Max gets back? What'd you do, dude?
I'm sorry. I was going to send a message in the private chat, but I guess I'll say it now. My baby's been like sick all day, so if I step away from time to time, just bear with me.
I'm sorry.
It's nothing,
dude. Why did you?
You're good.
Why couldn't you say, dude, I had to poo?
Well, it's fine. He's okay. He's just he got his 2-month-old shots yesterday, and it gave him a fever for the last little bit. So he's just been grumpy. So I'm helping out Kelsey.
Yeah. Well, that's where your priorities lie, dude. I totally get that. And now let's get into our topic of the night. We are talking about Enola Holmes, the new Sherlock Holmes spinoff, I guess you could say. It has nothing to do with previous Sherlock Holmes iterations, but it's a Sherlock Holmes spinoff starring Millie Bobby Brown. I don't know why that name is so hard. Like, I really have to think about which name comes first. Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill, Helena Bonham Carter, and Sam something. I can't even remember his last name. What is it?
Claflin.
Claflin. Thank you, dude. I knew it started with a C. So this movie came out this week, right? It's brand new to Netflix.
Yeah, 23rd.
It's already dominating the Netflix charts. I think when I saw it, it was the second most watched movie that Netflix had going on at that time. It had only been out for a day or two. But it's set in old England. What time period? They don't explicitly ever say a time period, but it looks like it could be.
So the Sherlock Holmes stories are set in Victorian England,
right?
Which is the late 1800s. They're between 1875 and 1890. This one would have been probably late 1870s. So that's about where it is.
Hey, man, I'm a big-time Sherlock Holmes fan, and I was perfectly content. So Kyle is mad that they made a movie about the sister and not about Sherlock Holmes. Nobody is ever going to do Sherlock Holmes better than the Benedict Cumberbatch.
Yeah, that was really good. I like the Robert Downey Jr. movie, the first one.
Sorry, the first Robert Downey Jr. version was so good. The music was so cool. Blink, blink, blink. It's so good. It was so good.
I did not like any the two Robert
Get
Downey
it out.
Jr.
Come on, get it out.
No, there was a word that I used to describe Robert Downey Jr.'s portrayal of Sherlock, and it was more like angsty Sherlock, I guess. Like I don't know how to describe him, but he wasn't as polished as Benedict Cumberbatch's.
Yeah.
Benedict Cumberbatch was a raging dick.
Yes, I was going to use the exact same word, dude. He was seriously such a dick.
But
he was unlikable at first.
Sherlock Holmes in the books is not so insufferable as Benedict Cumberbatch's portrayal. Benedict Cumberbatch makes Sherlock Holmes unlovable.
I think that Sherlock, that show that I saw with Benedict Cumberbatch would make it in my top 10 shows I've ever.
I'm
everything about that.
I'm with you. I really enjoy Sherlock. It's a great show. But you got to look at Robert Downey Jr.'s first turn at it. The Guy Ritchie version is also a really great portrayal. And in fact, they've got Hans Zimmer doing the score. It's equal parts mystery and action, dude. It's so good.
They're both really good. They're very different.
Yeah, very different. They came out about the same time.
Yeah,
and they were both scratching that mystery itch in different ways. I like the way that Sherlock takes. So they take old stories, like there was A Study in Scarlet, and they turned that into A Study in Pink, right? And it's all these plays that plays on the traditional tropes, the traditional stories, with the texting and all the messages back and forth. That kind of gives you a little bit of insight into Sherlock's thinking process. So yeah, it's really good. But also, the first Guy Ritchie one with the Sherlock Holmes vision was a really cool stylistic choice too. And I think you're doing yourself a disservice if you discount one for the other. They're both really good portrayals.
Well, I've never given it another chance. I think I saw it with Max, right, Max, in the theaters.
I don't think so. I think that came out before you and I met. I think it was like 2009 when the first movie came out.
So maybe I saw the second one with Max. But I remember seeing the first one and I walked out like just not that impressed. I have not given it another chance since it came out. So maybe it's something I should give a chance to. I just remember going to the theater and seeing it and not falling in love, not with the same admiration that you have for it, Sam.
It's really good. And the music is really good. And the story is really good. And the stylized portrayal is really good. Yeah, I have a hard time seeing why you hate it so much.
I just I don't know. I don't know. I need to watch it again. We were friends, Max, because it came out after Iron Man.
Did it? Well,
Came out in 2009.
I didn't get home from my mission until July of 2009. So I don't think you and I met until the end of 2009, Lance. So I probably did not see it with you.
Yeah, I don't know. But no, I think the reason I love Sherlock so much, the Benedict Cumberbatch, is because of Moriarty. His character in the TV show is one of the best villains I've ever seen in a TV show ever. Like
He
does so good. He is really good. And why am I forgetting his name? He's freaking
Andrew Scott.
No, not him. He's freaking Bilbo Baggins.
You're talking about
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman was so good as well. Like it's a really good show. I didn't like the final season of Sherlock. I found some aspects of the last season to be less good, but the first two were so good.
Was the last season the one with the wedding?
I didn't like anything after the second season. Second season,
I didn't like
good. Everything after that, it was just like, what are we doing? What are we even doing anymore?
Yeah, the whole stuff with Watson's wife was really weird, and I didn't like that.
I loved it, man. I loved everything about that show. The scene with Moriarty, was it at a public pool? I think that's in the third season, right?
That's in the first season.
Oh, that's in the first season. What am I thinking? Do they revisit it later? It's been a while since I've seen this show.
Yeah, that pool scene I think is like the season 1 finale, which is funny because there's only like 3 episodes a season. But anyways, the point is there's been other iterations of Sherlock and they're very good. But personally, I was excited to see Enola Holmes. I thought it was fun to see something different. But we still got Sherlock, and I think Henry Cavill was pretty cool. Sorry, to see a Sherlock. So that's my way of redirecting us back to Enola Holmes.
Yeah, I have a question because Kyle on the chat is extremely angry about the fact that this was about his sister or something. I don't know if he didn't see the movie because first of all, he says little sorority girl. I don't understand that comment because she's playing a preteen or she's playing like a 16-year-old girl, right?
Yeah, this is like
and she doesn't go to school. She's homeschooled. So where's the sorority?
So I'm trying to figure out. So let me just start it off. When you guys had recommended watching this movie, I hadn't seen a trailer. I had just heard through the grapevine what it was about. I thought it was going to be some little campy movie for girls, like a Nancy Drew type thing for young girls, right? Well, I sat down with my wife and 9-year-old daughter to watch it. She watched 5 minutes of it, got up, left. It bored her to tears. So it is not a movie for little kids. Anna, my wife, and I loved every second of it. Millie Bobby Brown's portrayal of this girl that I had no idea existed before this movie. I know that there's a book series, right?
Yeah, this is an original character in the books. She's not part of the original Sherlock Holmes mythos and lore.
Yeah, it's a newer thing.
Yeah, it's a new thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but there is books on her and everything. So, but I had no idea this person existed or whatever. I loved every second of this movie, and mind you, this is not a time period that I enjoy watching at all. This Victorian.
I love this time period. I think it's a cool period.
Not a fan. So Matt says he didn't like it, that it was boring, but he and I usually differ in opinions on movies that he says is boring and that I love. Maybe if they added, I'm gonna poke the bear right now, but maybe if they added 1 or 2 more explosions, he would have liked it.
Well, there were explosives.
I think this movie was very young adulty. Like, don't take my comparison here literally. There was no magic, but it gave me very much Harry Potter vibes in the sense of you've got young adult kids, young teenagers trying to solve a mystery. Like that's what the first few Harry Potter movies. That's like their whole premise, but with magic. So this is definitely not geared towards adult men necessarily, but it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy it, because I love Harry Potter, but it very much gave off the same vibes. So
Well, and it wasn't so much like the story or anything like that that really endeared me. It was her portrayal. And I'm going to say something that might be controversial for you, Max, but I liked her more in this role than I did Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter.
it's okay. You can have your opinion.
I thought she was a lot more likable. Like
Millie Bobby Brown is just, she's an adorable human being.
Yeah.
Like, she's just a cute kid. And she's so fun to watch. Like, she's just very fun to watch. So
if you remember, the first two Harry Potters are definitely geared towards smaller children.
Yeah, absolutely.
It
matures with the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
They didn't do that with this one. Sam, what did you think?
Okay, so first off, I want to start off by saying that when Stranger Things finished their first season, there was a Phoenix Fan Fusion, which I don't know if you guys remember Fan Fusion, which was their winter Comic-Con.
It was Fan Fest, wasn't it?
No,
Fan Fusion's the one in May.
Fan Fest. Yes, Fan Fest.
Yeah.
Fan Fest, which was their winter Comic-Con before they changed the name. And David Harbour and Millie Bobby Brown came to Phoenix, and they sat on a panel, and I was dressed as the Demogorgon, and I was sitting in the front row, and Millie Bobby Brown asked me to stand up, and she was very cute, and she was very charming, and she and David Harbour were riffing on everybody who was dressed like Stranger Things people, and she is nothing like Eleven from Stranger Things. 11 is very, quiet and mysterious. And she is nothing like that. She's very bubbly. She's very affable. She is a lot more like Enola Holmes in real life than she is like 11. And she was in this movie, Enola Holmes, she was cute. She was charming. She did a lot of fourth wall breaking, which was very, very cute, very fun.
Specifically the one when she's in the widow outfit.
Yeah, and she looks at the camera and says, "'Tis I." Right?
Yeah. Oh, dude, I loved it. And your what would they call that? Avatar tag
handle.
Handle. Thanks, dude.
His moniker.
Pop that immediately in my brain, and I started to giggle a little bit on the inside. Like I loved it. Loved
"'Tis
it.
I." Yeah, she was very, very good. Now, granted, I will give Kyle this one, which is it wasn't very mysterious. There wasn't a whole lot of mystery going on. There wasn't a whole lot of puzzle solving happening. They did a little bit at the beginning with the chrysanthemum stuff, but that was about as far as it went. It was mostly like a game of cat and mouse. And they really did kind of put Henry Cavill as second tier. They weren't really good to the Sherlock character. This was more about girl power, I'd say, than it was about Sherlock Holmes as a character. One of the things that I thought that made me laugh out loud, and not necessarily in a good way, but kind of like seriously, that was all, is there's this one scene where Sherlock has gone to Lestrade, to Scotland Yard, and he's telling Lestrade the what am I trying to get at? The solution to the mystery. And Lestrade's like, that's all great, but your sister already figured it out. She's already figured it out. And then Henry Cavill walks out, and the whole scene is him walking down a hall. And then when he gets to the end of the hall, he goes, "Ha!" And that's it.
I loved that. I thought that was such a cool scene.
That? He just walks down a hall, and then he goes, "Ha!"
I think that was him just kind of being shocked for a little bit.
It It was so goofy.
his
Like,
little sister,
it
yeah.
seemed so goofy to me that he would just do that. He's walking, walking down the hall. Ha!
I loved it because for me it was like clearly he was just so proud of his sister. He was just like, "Holy crap, I got bested!" And he was. I don't know. I took it as he was happy.
Is that before or after he tells Mycroft that he wants to be her ward?
That was
That's before.
He finds out that she's already solved the crime, and it's as he's exiting Scotland Yard. He just finished talking to Lestrade, and he's walking down. Ha! That's the whole scene. I was like, what? I was like, that was ridiculous.
Now he's going to retire from being a detective and go fight monsters.
So
I really liked Millie Bobby Brown. She was fantastic. I think everyone else really did not get a chance to shine a whole lot.
It was her movie.
It was her movie. She was very charming. She was very fun. She had a great time. Everyone else, like the mystery solving was like it kind of got put in a box. It didn't really do much. Sherlock and Mycroft were just kind of like typical symbols of patriarchy, right? You have Mycroft who's just there to tell her what to do. You know, he's the one trying to put baby in the corner. And
so speaking of
horrible.
Mycroft, so his character was so unlikable in Sherlock, the TV show, right? Intentionally, right? He's supposed to be unlikable. In this movie, there's disdain for him. Like every time that he was shutting Enola down, I'm like, why hasn't Sherlock just punched this guy in the throat, right? Like, I'm like, this is so not okay. Like everything he was saying, like you're like basically treating Enola like a piece of property, which is probably very true to that time period. So I should throw that in there. But it pissed me off like every time Mycroft had one of these like holier than thou moments.
Well, I think part of the story was like, you know, when Henry Cavill, obviously Sherlock, he's talking to the jiu-jitsu woman, right? And she's telling him these things about himself, like he doesn't care about politics because he's okay with the way things are, right? Like, and I think that's kind of part of what made Sherlock, his character in this, likable, is that he was very self-aware. And so when she said that to him, he was able to look internally and say, yeah, that's probably true. You know, like, you know, he didn't argue with her about it. And so his story in this, I felt like, was kind of a realization that he was being too passive on this topic, and that he was being too okay with things that were not right as far as how Enola was being treated. And then at the end of the movie, he decides to actually do something about it. That's kind of how I felt about his character throughout the whole thing. So it made kind of a sense that he wasn't punching him, even though it seemed like this isn't right. He didn't really like it, but he's like, this is just kind of the way things are, you know, like this is how it goes.
Yeah, I got the same vibe, and I really liked that about Henry Cavill's Sherlock, like the arc that they put him on. I really liked that. He had growth, he had progress. I thought he was really likable. I don't think Sherlock was unlikable, but he was less likable at the beginning of the movie than at the end. Like at the end, he was much more likable because he had changed kind of how he saw things. Like I don't think he ever disliked Enola. He always seemed to like her, whereas Mycroft like had this hatred towards her, kind of. But he didn't seem to care that Mycroft was treating her the way he was. But by the end of the movie, he realized, why are we doing this? Enola is so intelligent. She's very capable of being who she wants to be. She doesn't have to fit in this tight little box, you know. I really liked the character growth from Henry Cavill's Sherlock. So I totally agree with you, Tyler.
Yeah, that's the one problem I had with the movie is it makes Henry Cavill's portrayal of Sherlock made him seem a little bit too timid. And the best versions of Sherlock that I've seen in TV and movies and stuff have been the one that like takes control and Henry Cavill doesn't ever seem to be that person.
Yeah, I think there was a little bit on purpose because they were trying to,
Make the movie about Enola.
Make it about Enola, more about Enola. But I think that with a sequel, they could very well, make an opportunity with that where he's working maybe with Enola, and having more of that type of personality. So, but I agree. Yeah, he kind of wasn't as assertive as we know Sherlock to be in other iterations and stuff.
Yeah, and I don't know how much I like that. I understand what you're saying, Tyler. Make the movie about Enola, and you can't have a bunch of A personalities, type A personalities, and make them and not have them a focal point of the movie for the most part. It's just it didn't feel like Sherlock, right?
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's the best route that they could have taken. I'm just saying that's probably
it makes total sense.
Yeah,
it makes total sense what you're saying, and I agree. I understand why they did it. I just think there could have been better ways to I don't know.
Make his personality come out still without encroaching on Enola. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, still stay true to what we know as Sherlock.
Yeah, and there were definitely some, pretty big imperfections in this movie, but that doesn't. They still did a pretty good job with the characters and the development, I thought. But yeah, there were definitely some things they could have done better, like that being one of the examples.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to say that there were some things that I didn't really enjoy from the movie, and for me, I always have a problem when message becomes more important than story. And there were a couple times when the message, and you touched on it a little bit already, which was when he's talking to the judo instructor or the jiu-jitsu instructor, and she's saying, you're fine with the world as it is because it's giving you what you want, right? You're comfortable. And for everybody who's not comfortable, they need change. And to me, that was a point where they're being really on the nose with message. And it's kind of taking a front seat, and the story itself takes a back seat. And I didn't think that type of on-the-nose messaging is necessary. I don't think it ever is necessary. You don't never need to say the message of the movie. People can watch the story and understand the message without having to be told it.
Well, here's the thing, though. You do that in movies aimed towards children for the most part, right? You explicitly say the message, and this isn't really geared towards adults for the most part. It's more the preteen, right? So
yeah, but I think you're kind of underselling like teens and preteens when you feel like you have to be that direct. Like I'm kind of with Sam on that. Like I feel like the way that the movie was going without that scene could have portrayed that narrative just as well without having to directly say it.
But that said, it's a minor complaint. I thought it was a very enjoyable movie. Otherwise, my wife did have something that almost ruined the entire experience for her. And if it weren't for Millie Bobby Brown being so charming, she would have hated it. And that is Henry Cavill never took his shirt off the whole time.
I thought you were going to say that.
Who wants to see a muscle-bound Sherlock? Like that's
my wife.
Who doesn't?
Yeah, well, yeah.
Super
But I was
Sherlock.
thinking in my head, I was like, I know Henry Cavill is ripped, right? The dude's Superman, right?
Oh, here's the other thing. Here's another thing, though, Lance. He never took steroids. All these other heroes in the Marvel universe are taking steroids. Henry Cavill never did steroids. He did. He's all
How
natural.
do you know that?
How do I know that? Because I
Yeah.
read about it. I read about it all the
Yeah.
time. How do you
Every
get Thor's
single,
body?
Natural is Lance Armstrong.
How do you get
every
Thor's
single
body?
person in the Marvel universe has taken so like Chris
No.
Evans.
No, Chris Evans, I don't think so. But I'm talking about Thor. Thor definitely did steroids.
Yeah.
Hugh Jackman, steroids.
Oh, dude, you had to get to look like Hugh Jackman.
Dude, the level of
does.
abs on that man are not natural.
There is he has
Especially at
like
the age.
he has
Chris
like
Evans.
negative
Chris Evans
percent
did
body
steroids.
fat.
Chris Evans did steroids. So anytime you
believe
have a character, it's like the guys are going, I don't want to do this character forever. They're talking about the toll that the steroids take on their body. That's the problem that they have with those characters, is that they have to do steroids to get into shape.
Yeah.
There's no way they can get into shape without them. Like the turnaround time from what was the race car movie that Chris
Ford
Hemsworth
v
was
Ferrari.
in?
Oh,
I can see it in my head. I don't know.
But the turnaround time from that movie where he was a really skinny, tall guy to his next Thor appearance was like 2 months or 3 months. It was very quick. And he had to bulk up really quick. Maybe it was 6 months, but it was like really, really quick. And there's no way you can do that without steroids. Henry Cavill, though, two things that he said when he did Superman. He said, look, I am not going to do Rush. Yes. He says, I'm not going to do steroids and I'm not going to shave my chest because if you read the comics, Superman has a hairy chest. And so the producers were like, well, I'll be damned. He does have a hairy chest. You win this one. You win this round, Cavill.
I love
and he looks
Henry Cavill
dang
as
good with a
Superman.
hairy chest, man. I was telling my wife, I legit have a man crush on that man.
Well, and
I was swooning over him way more than her during this movie.
So I know I've said several times on this show how Man of Steel is not my favorite iteration of Superman. I know Max and Tyler love it. I'm not sure about Sam, so I won't speak for him. But Man of Steel is not one of my favorite iterations of Superman. But I will say that Henry Cavill fits that mold so well, and that's, in my opinion, what makes Man of Steel somewhat enjoyable for me is because of Henry Cavill in that role.
I don't think he fits the mold. I think they made the mold from Henry Cavill.
Well, I'll say this, dude. Like, I rewatched Superman 1 and 2 with Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
And dude, everything about Christopher Reeves is what I see Superman as far as just the way he's portrayed in the Clark Kent as opposed to Superman duality there and everything. But and then Tom Welling is also one of my favorite Clark Kents. Not so much Superman because he doesn't ever really play Superman, but he's one of my favorite Clark Kents. But Henry Cavill is in that same conversation with those two guys. Not so much Brandon Routh either, even though Brandon Routh kind of looks like Christopher Reeves, but
yeah, he does.
But Christopher Reeves, I mean, if you haven't seen, I know Jack O'Halloran talked about it quite a bit on this show. The Richard Donner cut of Superman 2 is so good, guys. Like, I don't know if you've seen it or when's the last time. It's so good. It's really good. And but Man of Steel, I mean, Henry Cavill makes that movie. So he's just a likable dude. I mean, was it Mission Impossible he was in?
Yeah.
Mission Impossible 6.
With
I liked him in
sound.
Mission Impossible
He was
2, and that wasn't a
awesome
good
in that.
movie either.
That
movie was awesome.
It's one of my
Every-
least favorite Mission
my favorite
Impossible.
Mission Impossible movie.
Oh, so good, dude. What's wrong with you?
There were way too many like twists where it's like, no, I'm really the bad guy. Like, it was just
I
like,
loved it. I loved it
Like,
so much.
no,
Anyway, we're not talking about that, but I freaking love that movie.
anyway,
No, it's one of the worst of the whole franchise. Which one is that? Remind me which one that is.
that's the latest
Ghost,
one.
Is it Ghost Protocol?
No.
Ghost Protocol was 2 ago.
2 ago? Which one's
What
this?
was it called?
I
Fallout?
haven't-
No, is
yeah,
that
it's
one?
Fallout. It's Fallout.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Fallout.
See, I can't even remember what it was called. No, but Henry Cavill is likable in that movie. I want to watch The Witcher. The Witcher is about a time period that I'm not even interested in, and Henry Cavill is the reason that I want to watch that show.
A real time period. It's not a real.
I know, but that's why I haven't watched Game of Thrones or anything. I don't want. I know it's not a real time period. Medieval fantasy type stuff. It's not my bag. Like, I'm not into it, but I'll watch it because of Henry Cavill. Like, I don't even give Game of Thrones a chance. Like, I tried to watch 10 minutes of Game of Thrones and I shut it off. I said, this is hot garbage. I don't like it.
Game of Thrones definitely, it takes a little bit, honestly. It takes a little bit to get into.
Yeah. I want to bring this back to Enola for a second. Can we talk about Can we talk about Enola's mom? Like, she's a friggin' terrorist.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, dude. I thought you were going to say she was a 10.
No.
I thought you were getting ready to pick up on her mom. You're like, dang, she's hot.
What's up, Melina?
That was Voldemort thinking. He should have gone for her right away. No. She, like, they just found all these bombs, and she, like, at the end of the movie, she's like, oh, yeah, I thought I was going to make all this change. And I'm just like, by blowing everybody up?
Yeah.
Her mom was a psycho.
Her mom was nuts, dude. I didn't like her mom at all.
They kind of low-key were trying to get you to support terrorism in that show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't like her mom. I didn't like that, and I also had a big issue with my biggest problem with the movie was the story felt pretty disjointed to me. It started off as Enola trying to find her mom, and then all of a sudden she switched gears and started to solve a mystery related to her to-be boyfriend, the Viscount or whatever. And then all of a sudden her mom comes back at the end. Like, her mom was kind of always interweaved in there, but it was just it just felt really weird. When the story started ending, and I'm like, where's her mom? And she just showed up out of nowhere. I thought that was very out of place and didn't really make sense. Like, we learned that she's a terrorist, and then all of a sudden, yeah, well, I didn't do anything because the vote passed. Okay, so if the vote hadn't passed, you were literally going to blow things up.
Yeah, terrorist.
Like no.
Enola's mom has got it going on.
Enola's mom has got it blowing on.
Is gonna blow up Parliament. She always plays a crazy person, though. That actress.
I didn't particularly care for. Oh yeah, she's excellent in Fight Club, which I don't think either of you have watched.
Matt says, "I wish the vote wouldn't have passed." You know what? If the vote wouldn't have passed, it would have been a pretty interesting action sequence after that, man. That's when you know what? Movie mechanic rewrite. Okay, I'm gonna movie mechanic for you real quick here, Sam. The vote doesn't pass. The movie's 30 minutes longer now. The vote doesn't pass. She blows crap up. Sherlock comes out, rips his shirt off, fully hair glory, and he goes toe-to-toe with his mom in a fist fight. That's
and you discover that Sherlock has laser eyes. I see Sam feverishly typing up his cease and desist to send to Max right now.
That is infringement of trademark, sir.
Like, you stop it!
How dare you? You'll hear from my attorney on this.
Sam is Sam's attorney.
Yeah, you'll hear from me. I'm my own attorney.
So yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's been so many shows that we watched recently with like these massive explosions and stuff. I kind of liked a movie with just a likable character that was just less about how action-packed we can make this movie and about building characters. Now it's the initial debut into this franchise, right? Or installment to this franchise. Sometimes when you're debuting a new character like this, that not a lot of people are familiar with, the movie's going to go into, some building and stuff like that. There's going to be, but I think that the future of this franchise is bright.
Yeah, I think it's a cool series. I enjoyed it overall. I had fun with it.
Yeah, I liked it. I think they needed to do more of, what Sam was talking about. They need to have more puzzle solving and
I agree.
more showing like why she's smart. Like, I felt like the end of the movie where they just said that she solved this mystery and didn't, it didn't show any of how she did it or anything. It just was like, you just believe us. She's really smart, which was a little bit lazy to me, but like, they need to start showing her actually making deductions, like whatchamacallit, the Sherlock BBC show. They do a fantastic job of going through a crime scene and showing all of Sherlock's deductions and how he figures things out and how like ingenious he is. Like, I want to start seeing a little bit of that from Enola, that kind of family trait that all of those, siblings seem to have of like really good deduction skills.
Well, and I wonder if we're going to see that more going in the future, because this was the first thing that she's ever solved, right? Like, so we saw flashes of that, but I wonder if that skill is going to progress over time. We're going to be seeing that skill progress, and I think the best way to do that is by getting her to spend time with Sherlock.
Yeah, and the fact
next movie should be a Sherlock Enola team up, and I think that she really build on those skills.
Well, I think that the fact that Watson wasn't in it maybe is an indication that she's going to kind of be Watson, at least for a while.
I don't know if
they would do that because they worked so hard to make her the primary character of this movie, and Watson is a secondary character.
Yeah. I will tell you, it didn't go the way I was thinking it was going to go, because they made a big deal about Enola being an anagram name, right? And that's why Tyler and Max put anagrams in their handles tonight. And her name, the mom's name was Eudoria Vernet. And I was like, that has to be an anagram for something. And that has to come and play at the end of the movie. And they didn't use it. They didn't do anything. I was like, what if she realizes that mom's name is an anagram for the place that she's hiding out or something along those lines? And so I went ahead and
terrorist.
and her name contains the letters for Avenue, and the remaining letters are Red Riot. So I was like, Red Riot Avenue. That would have been cool if there was someplace, Red Riot Avenue, and she goes there and there's mom at Red Riot Avenue. Or something along those lines, where there's just it ends up being an anagram.
Well, maybe one of her like terrorist plots is named Red Riot Avenue or something like that.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is like they made the big deal of putting the anagram in the name at the very beginning, and then just nothing ever happened with it. So
right,
let's be mindful, because I do want to give the writers some credit. So it's extremely difficult. So Sherlock Holmes was created, a century ago, right? Roughly?
More than.
What's that?
More than a century ago.
Yeah, it's old, right? It's an old franchise. It's old books. This is an old property. Someone recently started writing these Enola Holmes books. You have to create a character in a world that's more than a century old, and create this character that will appeal to new audiences. So, and sometimes you have to work with what's given to you, right?
But here's the thing, though, Lance, is that
a lot of trouble figuring out that was Red Riot Avenue, but
Sherlock Holmes has never stopped appealing to audiences. Sherlock Holmes never stopped appealing to us.
They're not trying to appeal to us. It doesn't
matter. It doesn't matter. Every generation since Sherlock Holmes has come out, has continued to enjoy Sherlock Holmes. There's something timeless about Sherlock Holmes.
But primarily men and adult men at that.
My wife enjoys Sherlock Holmes.
No, and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but there is such a thing as targeted audiences and demographics and stuff. You could make the case that Sherlock Holmes as a character in his stories, the majority of the people that are interested in this is probably adult males. This movie is not meant for adult males. They're trying to get a totally different demographic.
I'm not laughing at you, Lance. I'm just laughing at the new name for Sam.
That's my handle.
But could you it's like James Bond. Like, yes, there are women that like James Bond. I'm sure of it, you know. But James Bond appeals to mostly an adult male demographic.
Yeah,
just like Sherlock.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. What I'm saying is Sherlock Holmes is timeless.
I agree with you. And I don't see it going away.
I don't see it going away either. And that's what I'm saying is the writers may be working under some constraints, time constraints or money constraints, because the start of the movie was pretty strong. And then the end of the movie it didn't tie up loose ends in the way that I was hoping.
Puttered out.
Endings can be really tough, right? Endings are really tough. That Sherlock series on BBC is a good example. And I think the thing is that the guy who writes and runs those shows, he has a short attention span. He can do maybe 1 or 2 seasons, and then he's like, I don't know.
You and I have talked about this before, right? There was another show that you liked from him.
Jekyll. It was called Jekyll. And it was the first 3 episodes.
You talked about that a few times.
And the second 3 episodes were trash. And he did the same thing with Sherlock. The first 2 seasons were really good, and then the last 2 seasons were trash.
Well, I do have to say, though, Sherlock, I think it was season 3, does give probably the best man speech I've ever heard at that wedding. That was a really cool scene.
I love the wedding episode. Loved it. It was one of my favorite episodes of the entire series.
Honestly, I don't remember much about it except for the best man speech. It was super good.
Well, I'm pretty sure that episode won some awards.
I remember the drinking, where he's calculated the exact amount of alcohol they need to consume to keep just a light buzz, and they can keep doing their pub crawl the whole night. That was what I remember. I don't remember the best man speech at all.
I remember showing it to my wife, and she doesn't really follow British accents very well. So I was like, check out this best man speech. And then I showed it to her, and she's like, I have no idea what he just said.
Yeah. So that episode is called The Sign of 3, and it's one of the most critically acclaimed episodes of the entire series. I was just reading about it. But that speech, the best man speech, is pretty epic.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so good.
At any rate, back to Enola. I think they did a lot of good things. I just feel like they needed to work on their finishing power. They didn't finish strong. Like, just having the mom just show up, I thought that was a pretty poor way to do it. They could have let Enola have the win there, and put together, maybe her name's an anagram, or maybe this is an anagram for her name, and then she puts it together and she finds mom, or something along those lines. And they kind of robbed her of that little victory, and I was disappointed by that.
Yeah, and I mean, even with the mom having the intention of wanting to visit her at the end of the movie, they still could have had that, but they could have had her communicate where she was with clues or something for her to figure out, instead of just having her show up. I thought that was pretty lazy too. But yeah, the show starts off very well, setting up the tone of the movie, setting up the characters and everything, and then it just doesn't hit the mark with
the final act.
Yeah, well, I mean, even the middle part with the puzzle solving and deductions or the lack thereof, So, yeah, I mean, it was still like you guys said. I still enjoyed it because Millie Bobby Brown was so likable, and even though Henry Cavill's character had some flaws, I still enjoyed him as Sherlock as well. So there's some really good portrayals in there that helped make the movie enjoyable as well. So kind of picked up from other things that were lacking.
Sure.
So I did have an issue with the end of the movie because I'm thinking in my head, shouldn't this girl, Enola, who's speaking about, be so pissed at her mother? First of all, she vanishes, doesn't tell her where she's going, makes her go on this goose chase, leaves her under the ward of Mycroft, who is an absolute horrible human being. And then she comes back and just welcomes her with open arms. There was no yelling. There was no climax. There was nothing there except, love, hugs, and kisses, and the mother saying how good of a job this girl did. But there was no, I would have been pissed, right?
Yeah. And I think there's a fundamental difference between the way that male-centric movies play and female-centric movies play. This movie was written by a woman, Nancy Springer. It was directed by a man, but after seeing Ocean's 8 and Captain Marvel, and there was another recent example, Mulan is another recent example, and Enola Holmes, where kind of female-centric movies or movies geared towards women, the tension is driven by something other than things going wrong. It's like the potential that things could go wrong is enough for women to get excited about a movie. But in the end, things turn out even better than they plan, right? And in this one, Enola sets out to find her mom, and that's pretty much it. Halfway through, or not even halfway, but towards the beginning of the second act, she changes her plan to now I'm going to save the Viscount or the Viscount. And through saving the Viscount, not only does she save the Viscount, find her mom, but she also avoids this whole terrorist plot that her mom was cooking up. So things turn out even better than she was planning. Whereas in a male-centric movie, it's like everything that can go wrong will go wrong, and the guy still comes out on top. He overcomes all failures to claim victory in the end. And it's like a totally different way to look at story and look at tension. And I think a lot of times it doesn't resonate with men very much, but it still resonates with women a lot more than the male-centric movies do.
Is that the same thing as romantic comedies? All this crap happens, but the two always end up together in the end, essentially? Would that equate? Is that comparable to what you're describing there?
Well, I mean, I'm talking about a female-centric action movie versus a rom-com. I'm comparing male-centric action movies versus female-centric action movies.
Well, I'm just thinking, I'm just making a different comparison in my head. Rom-coms are usually geared towards women.
Yeah.
And I felt like the ending of this movie, which is also geared towards women, specifically younger women, it felt the same as kind of a rom-com, that ending.
I mean, maybe. I haven't really thought about it a whole lot, but maybe I can work through something like that right now. So in a rom-com, the tension is driven by the fact that a relationship is started on false premises.
Right.
Usually it's actually usually both of the participants in the relationship are lying to the other. And over the course of the movie, they grow to love each other, but it's based on a false premise. And then the false premise is exposed, and then they question their feelings. They have a fight, and then in the end, they're forced to face the fact that despite the false premise, they actually love each other in spite of it, and then they come back together. That's usually how it goes. And here what you have is there's not a false premise. It's just Enola seeking out her mom, and her mom's not telling her everything, but that's not necessarily a false premise. And in the end, they reconcile without having resolved the fact that mom left to blow up Parliament if she couldn't get her vote, right? They don't really address that fact. So it's like an emotional resolution, but without the addressing of the false premise.
The climax.
Yeah.
Like that's what I was speaking of. Like there was this reconciliation point with zero climax, right? There was no coming to Jesus moment, right? Where Enola just screamed at her mother for all the crap that she's put her through, and instead just welcomed her with open arms. Despite the fact that Enola now knows that her mother was a aspiring terrorist.
Yeah, so
still
compare that,
welcomed her.
Let's compare that with the Sherlock Holmes movie, which essentially has a lot of the same plot elements, because you have Mark Strong's character, Lord Blackwood, who is also attempting to murder all of Parliament. And in that Sherlock Holmes movie, everything that can go wrong does go wrong, because Blackwood is a step ahead of him through the whole movie until the very last second. And they finally catch up to him just in time to stop the utter destruction of Western civilization as they know it. Just in time, in the nick of time. Only to have certain things slip out of their fingers when they come back to pick them up, and they fall into Moriarty's hands for the sequel. But it's like the dominoes begin to fall, and it's a race against time, and they barely squeak in there. Whereas in Enola Holmes, she uses this kind of B-plot rom-com style romance where she's saving her boyfriend, and then her boyfriend ends up saving the world. But we never know how close they are to getting blown up, right? We never get to see how close Eudora Burnett Holmes was to blowing everything to bits. And I think that's probably the part that I kind of wish we could have seen. Like, how close was that to happening? And yeah, you're absolutely right, Lance. They just kind of got together. They didn't have to address any of their issues. They were just like, sorry. I was going to blow everything up. My bad.
You know, I love my mother too, more than I can express here on this show. But if she left me abandoned with some psychopath to watch over me, that was going to put me in boarding school and had people slapping me in the face and like demeaning me as a person, you better believe my mom and I are going to have some words when I see her again. Like, that's just the normal part. Like, anybody, right? You left me with this psychopath, and now you're just showing up here. You want a hug? No.
Yeah,
we're gonna come to blows right now. I think that's a normal human reaction to being stepped on a little bit, especially a 16-year-old girl. I don't know how many 16-year-old girls you guys have come in contact with, but they most of the time are little biatches.
Last time I hung with 16-year-old girls, I was
13.
My sister is 21 years old, acts like she's 16, and I can't stand to be around her about 60% of the time. And she can't stand to be around me about 100% of the time. So that's where we're at with that. Well, I think we've covered pretty much this movie. What do you guys think?
Yeah, let's give our ratings.
Okay, we're going to start with Tyler. Tyler, what do you rate this movie?
So I'm going to give it a 3. I really think that Millie Bobby Brown shows how talented she is in this movie. Like, and I think that I'm really excited to see the rest of her career because of this movie. On top of Stranger Things and stuff. And I always really like Henry Cavill's presence. But yeah, the plot was just lacking. It was lacking on the deductive side of things. The puzzle solving and the ending just had some really lazy moments to me. So some really good redeeming qualities though. So I'll give it a 3.
Sam, what about you?
Yeah, I had a great time. I had a fun time. I thought Millie Bobby Brown was really, really good. I may be biased because she was very charming when she came to Phoenix, and I became a big fan of hers as a result of meeting her. So maybe I'm a little biased, but I really enjoyed her performance. I thought she was a lot of fun. The movie itself, I thought they could have done a lot better with the writing. So I too am going to give it 3 couch cushions.
Maxie, you?
Yeah, I had a lot of fun while watching the movie, a lot of enjoyable moments, but I had some real big issues with the fact that her mom was a terrorist, and that wasn't a bad thing for some reason. And the story felt really disjointed to me, with the whole fact that she starts looking for her mom, and then she gets sidetracked, and then all of a sudden her mom finds her and just appears out of nowhere, and it just felt very convenient and not really well told in some ways. But Enola herself, like Millie Bobby Brown, did so good. She was so much fun to watch, very charming. So I'm kind of in the same boat, 3 out of 5.
So I think I liked the movie a little bit more than you guys. It was just a fun movie, and I think I had very low expectations going into this movie.
Matt says the movie gets a 1 out of 5, but the nap it made me take 5 out of 5.
Now leave it to Matt to debut. Leave it to Matt to say something like that when I'm giving my review, because everybody stop listening to Lance. I loved it. I think Millie Bobby Brown is one of the most likable female actresses I've seen in a long time. She is incredibly charismatic, even in her public life, real life, I guess. What am I trying to say? Her celebrity life. Articles that I've read with her or whatever, and the Stranger Things role that she plays is so one-dimensional, right? There's not a lot of aspects there for her to branch outside of what 11 is. And this movie, I think, opens that up with the fourth wall breaking, with how she can act in public and being like, I never want to get married, I never want to do this, and then also having this side of her that's kind of interested in this boy, right? And seeing all this dimensional person form. I loved every second of it. Now there is hangups about the movie, but this is a PG-13 movie meant for young teenage girls, I think, is the core demographic for this movie. So with that, I think I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5.
High praise from Lance Wells.
I loved it. I want to see more. I really did love it.
Yeah.
So Matt and I have very stark differences in opinions on this movie.
I would like to see more of this too. I think this could be a really profitable franchise for Millie Bobby Brown and Henry Cavill. I would like to see them do more on the mystery side. I agree. Tune up the writing and make it really solid. But I think it could be a really good thing.
So a couple things before I let you guys go tonight. There's just a couple things I want to hit on. The first of which is that, and thank you for a fantastic review of Enola Holmes. The first thing I want to touch on is, did you guys see the news that Black Widow has been delayed 8 months?
Yes.
Well, I saw that it was delayed. I didn't see how long. That's a long time.
So this is going to be the first year since Iron Man came out that we will not have a Marvel movie. Now that is going to be saved a little bit with
Since
the
2009. 2009 was the last time there was no Marvel movie.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is going to be saved a little bit with the premiere of WandaVision in December, but just another thing to make 2020 crappy, right?
Yeah, that sucks, man. It sucks.
I mean, we still have Wonder Woman to look forward to.
Movie. Well, it pushes every other Marvel movie out too, so it's just like whatever. I mean, it is what it is, I guess.
Well, I don't know.
We knew it wasn't going to come to the streaming service. We knew that Marvel wasn't going to do a bankable property or Disney wasn't going to do a bankable property like Marvel, a big budget Marvel movie. It's not the same stratosphere as Milan, right? So Milan, they could take a risk by doing this Premier Access thing, but they're not going to do that with a Marvel movie.
Yeah.
They're intended to bring in concessions, to put butts in the seats, to be the summer kickoff, right? That's what the Marvel movies usually are. They're usually about late April, early May. They're the summer blockbuster kickoff. And they can't lose what that movie does for just the theater industry in general. So I'm a little disappointed it's not coming out till May, though.
Yeah, I don't know that it means that it necessarily has to push back other movies, though. I mean, like, really, they're pushing it back so that they can, theaters can reopen to their full capacity, right?
Well, no, Black Widow is
confirmed,
being pushed, so that pushes Eternals. Eternals has been pushed. Every Marvel movie that was supposed to come out after Black Widow is now also pushed. So he wasn't talking about all movies. He was talking about the Marvel movies.
Yeah, right. No, I know what you're saying. But yeah, I didn't realize that they had confirmed that already. I just was like,
there's a whole new release schedule for all these movies. I think Thor comes out the year after it was supposed to come out now. Love and Thunder, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, everything's been pushed. So I mean, we won't get to see the continuation of the Spider-Man, the Endgame and Spider-Man I put in that same boat because they're kind of like flow with each other. We won't get to see the continuation of that story till May.
Yeah, which I'm really looking forward to the next Spider-Man movie. I love the ending of the last one.
So we're going to be almost 2 years between Marvel movies then. By the time Black Widow comes out. That's crazy. That's crazy. F you, COVID. F you.
What is I want to know what Matt is saying wrong about.
Everything, probably. I don't know.
Wrong.
What are we wrong about? You're reminding me of a guy in this gaming group I'm in, Matt, where all he'll ever comment on people is wrong, but he won't say why they're wrong, and we all hate it. It won't affect any Sony releases. Spider-Man is not pushed. I mean, we don't know that for sure, but you might be right. You might be right, Matt.
Well, I mean,
Sony might push it though.
Sony's kind of in partnership with Marvel, though. Marvel's
it might not
really
push
making the movie.
Sony has their own bottom line to worry about. They're not super concerned with Marvel,
but they're still so they can do whatever they want with Morbius and Venom and stuff like that. But they're not going to release if Spider-Man 3 has any impact on the MCU, they're not going to release it before the story can take place. Like, I don't see why. That would just be brain dead on Sony's part. But Morbius and Venom 2, they have no bearing on the MCU. So of course the MCU doesn't affect those, but Spider-Man is very much a part of the MCU. I think it totally matters. I don't know. They pushed production already. Production doesn't start now until, I was just looking at this. Production was supposed to start last month, and now production doesn't start until trying to find it here.
I mean, because Sony's not really making the movie. They're just like, we have the rights, so neener.
Neener.
So the release date for the new Spider-Man 3 is November 5th, 2021.
When's Disney just going to buy Sony? That's
And now it's saying, the article I'm reading saying this date is probably going to move because November also sees the new release date for the Eternals.
Well,
I'm
we'll see.
sure they're going to move that movie.
Anyway,
I'm sure they're going to move it.
Point is, it kind of sucks that we're gonna have to have such a delay, but oh well.
Yeah,
We'll just have to go watch Dune a bunch of times.
There is another thing I want to say. Something I'm really excited about. Kang the Conqueror. They cast the actor from Lovecraft County as Kang the Conqueror in Ant-Man 3.
Oh yeah.
And then one other thing.
That's cool.
Oh, and I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. So as you guys know, I'm a huge John Krasinski for Mr. Fantastic advocate, right? I think he's the best person for the role. But John David Washington, who we know as the protagonist from Tenet, wants a crack at that role. Who do you guys prefer in that role?
For Mr. Fantastic?
I still have not heard John David Washington deliver dialogue.
I thought you can't understand what he's saying in Christopher Nolan.
Yeah, I thought he did really great pretending to be Christopher Nolan in Tenet. But as Mr. Fantastic, I mean, I'd have to see him like stretch his arm out and then have it come back in, right?
I'm of the opinion that I think John Krasinski is the better pick for that role. That's I don't see John David Washington in that role.
Yeah. I do see a future for John David because I watched Ballers on HBO with The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, and John David Washington was in that show, a very crucial part of that show. And I've been acquainted with John David Washington for some time. Reed Richards, I think John Krasinski is so perfect that it would be absolutely brain dead on Kevin Feige to not make that happen. In fact, I think it's already happened. We just haven't heard yet because
you might be right.
Fantastic Four news is, I think it's already happened. I think that the pen has touched the paper, man. Like the ink is dry on the contract. But I do see a future with John David Washington in the MCU in some capacity and potentially headlining his own movie. How do you he's the son of Denzel Washington, who's one of the biggest movie actors of all time. And he's becoming a very good actor himself in his own right. How do you not get the opportunity to get Denzel Washington's kid in the MCU?
I didn't even know he was Denzel Washington's kid. I had no idea.
How did you not know that?
I don't look up like celebrity relationships. I don't know. That's cool. I didn't know that. I think John David Washington's fine. I don't have an issue with him, but I've only ever seen him in Tenet. And in Tenet, he's very wooden, which is what the character, was supposed to be. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So he did a great job in Tenet. I loved him, and I want to see him in more stuff. But I've seen Krasinski in more fun, upbeat roles, and so I really think Krasinski has clearly demonstrated that he can be an MCU hero, and I would love to see him in the role.
Well, he was second choice for Captain America.
Yeah, I know.
If they could not get Chris Evans in that role, it would have been John Krasinski. I mean, they had him screen test with the suit on.
I don't know that he was second choice. He auditioned for the role.
He screen tested everything. They had to go back to Chris Evans 4 or 5 times to get Chris Evans to agree to do this role. Robert Downey Jr. called Chris Evans to do this role. They just did an interview with John Krasinski like 2 days ago talking about how he screen tests with the suit on and everything. It was between him. Jensen Ackles was a high-profile person that auditioned for Captain America, and Chris Evans. Jensen Ackles, they wanted more for Hawkeye, which he turned down. Because of Supernatural, and it was between John Krasinski and Chris Evans. That's
I have a hard time believing he turned down freaking Marvel money for Supernatural. That's just nuts.
He was in a contract, and Hawkeye was not the character that Captain America was.
No, I know.
Right?
Still Marvel money.
And you got to think when Hawkeye was debuted, it was what, Thor?
He was a smaller.
It's not it wasn't the huge property that it is now. Right?
You're right.
Even now, like people kind of look at Hawkeye and they're like, "Oh, whatever, it's Hawkeye." Right?
Yeah, he's kind of a joke of the Marvel
Yeah,
universe.
Jensen Ackles has made millions off of Supernatural and is one of the biggest actors in fan. I don't know, what would you call that in this space? I guess like he's a big name actor, right?
Sure.
Eventually, he's going to be in something else, but as a bigger character than what Hawkeye is. In my opinion, I don't think Jeremy Renner can hold his own movie, so I don't think Hawkeye could hold his own movie. So.
Yeah.
So Kyle was talking all that trash about Enola Holmes, and he hadn't even seen it yet. He's saying he's trying to watch it right now.
He just wants to hate it.
Yeah.
Oh, Kyle, you
No
should have
way.
gone to Fan Fusion that one time or Fan Fest that one time and gotten her number, dude.
But you know what? I think
She's not that much older than you.
I think John David Washington. I think DC is going to snatch him up before Marvel gets a chance.
Do it. That'd be
Potentially
cool.
as like a Green Lantern or
Ooh,
something.
yeah, Green Lantern. That could be cool.
That's actually what I was thinking of was Green Lantern. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. Well, that brings us to the end of our show. I don't think we've decided what we're doing for next week, so we'll let you guys know on Monday what next week's movie will be. Max,
I have
no,
the
I will not be
proposal.
here.
We're doing the Hulu movie.
I
Or
have
no,
a
let's-
proposal.
What's the proposal?
Akira.
What's Akira?
Akira 4K. It's a movie, an anime movie that came out many, many years ago. They're doing a re-release in theaters in 4K. If you guys haven't seen it, I think we should see it and then talk about it.
Well, you guys can decide because I'm not on next week, so
Yeah, I'm not either.
I've got a family event to go to. So, but yeah, October is coming up, and we've got some big movies planned for October that I'm pretty excited about. So we'll let the cat out of the bag later on that. But go check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram.
Your mom's house.
Your mom's house, wherever else you can get our show. We're live on YouTube every Saturday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Make sure to check out our friends at Absolute Geek Podcast on Fridays, Grizzle Geek on Thursdays, STS Guys on Saturdays. We have a whole family of podcast friends that we want you guys to go check out. So make sure to check them out. And until next time, keep on geeking on.